Out on the streets, the complaints are enormous. Hunger, rising cost of fuel, inflation, insecurity, and so much more. I mean, it's been a whole basket of complaints and everyday issues to deal with. And it's days Nigerians are already counting down to the 64th anniversary of the nation's independence. At 64, is there anything to cheer about? Well, I have joining me Mr. Agwu Elesie Agwu. He is a practicing lawyer and has served in various capacities, including special advisor political and chief of protocol to the Senate President between 2001 and 2003. He's also served as a legal assistant at the Public Complaints Commission. It's nice to have you, Mr. Agwu, join me on the program.
Thank you very much.
I'm told the name Agwu is a spirit. What kind of spirit is that?
It's a spirit, it's a traditional name. Let me say this, it's not a very good spirit. It's a spirit that rules in the affairs of men. They attribute that spirit to what makes men to behave abnormally. That is why in the local communities, they do small juju for each man, for that Agwu spirit to guide the man, you know. But for me, it's just a name that was given to me by my grandfather. That was the name of my grandfather.
Is this a practice? Is that practice?
Yes, in my own area. Once you are the first son, they will say your father is back. That's another way. Some people will say Obonna.
Yes.
Some people will say that is your grandfather has come back.
Just
reincarnation.
like the Babatunde.
Something like that. Something like that.
That's great.
My grandfather was Agwu.
Okay.
If you look at the name Agwu Elesie Agwu, Elesie was my father's name.
Okay, so back to business. You're a lawyer who has been politically exposed for a while, and pray tell, is it normal that just 1 year into the life of an administration, we're having so much agitations all over the place? Is this a very appealing scenario?
It is not. It is not. But you see, our politicians are very desperate. It's desperation that is leading to all this. You can see all the promises they made prior to the election. They are not ready. I can say they are not, even they know they are not capable of keeping any of them, but they kept promising. That is where we are today. As you can see, the man at the top does not bother much. All he cares about, look at the last protest, the protest against hunger. See the man, he took practical begging for people to get him to talk to them, to talk to the country. And when he did, there was nothing you can anchor and say this is what he said, just like what is happening today. Nothing has really changed. So even from his aides who speak to the television, who communicate, they keep saying that, okay, you have done your riot now, you have done your protest. What has come out of it? You can see the man is busy, flying all over the world. You know, you keep complaining and he keeps doing what he wants to do. That's the problem with Nigeria now. Because it stems from the roots, how he came. It was not really the people that made him to be here. And I think that speaks to his mind every time you call upon him to do anything. You will just talk. His own style of politics, you talk, he keeps quiet. At the end, he does what he wants to do. Look at now, prices of commodities are going high. Politically, you know, if you look at his cabinet now, there's practically a disquiet in his cabinet. Look at his special advisor on media. Just excused himself and they said he was going for a medical leave of absence. But you know, that is too smooth a story. That is too smooth a story, you know. So we are in a quagmire in this country now. I was just discussing with some friends. You keep asking yourself, what are we really doing? When will this thing come to an end? Or when will it even be checked? Because it's only when it is checked that we can have hope. There is no hope. It's desperation everywhere. You go to the market today, you buy a cup of gari. A cup of gari, 1 naira today. You come tomorrow, they are telling you 5 naira. You come next tomorrow, they are telling you 10 naira. That's the problem. That's the problem. The essence of leaders, like the president, is to do whatever you can to enhance the welfare of the people you're governing. But that is totally absent from what we are seeing now. We are just on our own. You protest, you talk, you do everything. At the end of the day, the same thing keeps happening. In fact, the man is doing as if he's telling us, do your worst. Do your worst.
Really?
That's what is happening. Or do you have any other way to describe what is happening now?
Well, I do not.
Check the prices of things a month or so ago when that protest took place, just that time, and check it today. If you check the price of fuel, all of us were rejoicing that Dangote has come to rescue us. They just carried everything back to NNPC, and before you can say Jack Robinson, they increased the price. That is to rub it on us, to tell us you can do nothing. They will keep speaking grammar upon grammar upon grammar, and their grammar is just to complicate things further for us. For us. That's the thing.
Now, whereas apart from this insecurity, transportation, and of course the high cost of living, we're also having to deal with high taxes. So thankfully, the Minister of Finance says that the taxes are not there. They have not changed anything at all, that it's remained the same. But you have raised a fundamental issue about the cabinet members. Is
Yes.
it time for a cabinet reshuffle?
It will be an understatement for me to say it is time. The time was due, you know, just barely a month, 2 months when this government came into power. The manner the cabinet was constituted, the size of the cabinet. Look at the size of the cabinet. It's so unwieldy. And the cabinet members, you know, are just reflecting the fact that they are there based on patronage, not on merit. So you see, if this government does not rejig the cabinet, we are in trouble, and the thing will keep escalating. It will keep escalating. That's the problem. If you look at them, okay, while they were protesting, the protest that happened last, a cabinet member, in fact, they now SA media to the president, Mr. Ononoga, started attributing it, a whole informed, attributing it to the activities of Mr. P2B. Said it was Mr. P2B. Meanwhile, they said Mr. P2B was at his home. A cabinet minister. You know, when you're a special advisor, you're a cabinet minister. Said it was Mr. P2B that was responsible. Up to now, no clue of what happened then that leads to Mr. P2B. Mr. P2B was in Onitsha. On that day, he was saying those things. So you can see the hollow nature of the cabinet that we have. if the president would want to help Nigerians, let him look at the cabinet again and start using the mind of merit, in making his appointments, so that we will now know that we have a very responsible cabinet. That is where to start.
There are some cabinet members that we don't even know.
That's the issue. Some of them are even imagining. I was listening to television the other day. There was a lady I never saw before. I think they said she came in, they appointed her when she was still serving. So for almost a year, she was struggling to finish her service. When she finished her service, she started appearing. So you can see the unseriousness of this government. You see, if they can just look at what is happening in this country now, if they bother with what is happening in this country now, if they bother about even the image of the country, they do all these things, not realizing that nothing is hidden again in the world polity. Nothing is hidden again. Like I'm discussing with you now, with a handset, somebody can broadcast what we are doing now to US or even to any country in any part of the world. So that's the thing. They keep behaving, living in denial. But the country is in tatters. That's the thing. It's so horrible now.
We've also seen reports and happenings that have been so worrisome. If we're really keen on reducing the size of government, as everybody's talking about, the spending is enormous.
Yes.
One would expect that we'll see heads rolling, for instance, in the whole petroleum saga.
Yes.
And the recently concluded Olympics.
Yes.
We saw and we heard from athletes, the kinds of things that happened out there, that apart from the Paralympics, a whole Olympics, Nigeria did not come back with anything.
A single medal.
At all.
Even a wooden medal, we didn't come back with. And that's the thing. That shows that the government came into power just to fulfill their life ambition of sitting at the top. The truth is that, how can you look at this? They say they spent more than 12 trillion naira, million naira or something like that, big money, and they just went on a jamboree. Billions, yeah, billions. And the whole thing, and we are no longer talking about, nobody has been held responsible. The minister just came and made some explanations, and nobody took him to task. Even members of the National Assembly, nobody said anything.
And we just appointed a coach that resigned within days.
Yes, that's another thing. You didn't make any arrangement. Before you know it, they will start quoting figures of what they are spending. But look at the man just took a walk and left, and nothing is being done about it. This one we're talking about, this the last weekend's match against the Republic of Benin. It's just a human effort by maybe a governor to redeem himself. There is nothing that is done on merit. If you don't do things on merit, you keep suffering the kind of embarrassment we are suffering in Nigeria today. In Nigeria today, it is now a catalog of embarrassments. You go to something, you just do whatever you want to do. You just come back and you stay. And after, they will put billions, millions of naira of what they spent. That's the thing. I repeat, if we continue the way we are doing now, I don't think we are going to make any headway. I don't think we have any future in Nigeria. I'm not praying that we are not going to have a future in Nigeria. I'm just saying, with the present state of things, the future is very bleak for the country.
In your view, how many cabinet ministers should we have as a country?
By virtue of our constitution, it's just one minister per state. At least we should maintain 36. We have our 37 ministers, 36 or 37 ministers, Make it compact, and the appointment should be made on people who are responsible, you have many of them in this country, people who can turn things around. But because we are basing everything on patronage, who knows who is related to who, who is connected to who. That is the problem with this country. That is why we cannot take any step correctly. Because it's like a giant standing on a clay foot. That's the problem. That's the issue, If we can just target people, it is not mandatory that it must be people from the tribe of the president, or people who are friendly with the president, or people who know somebody who knows the president. I think that is where the issue lies. The issue is that if you can point out, even if, like, the president is from the southwest, even if you get people from the north or from the south, or from the southeast, anywhere, people who can deliver. I think the person that came very close to doing that kind of thing is General Obasanjo. Obasanjo, when he was the president of this country, he looked at merit. He looked at merit. Then his national security advisor, what a matter, throughout his stay, and they worked perfectly well, and we never heard of any of these things that are happening now. So the president should look at such people who will look at you in the face and say, this is how this thing should be done. Technical people who know their onions in all these fields of endeavor. So that's what is wrong with this country. Practically, I don't believe anything is wrong with the nation. What is wrong with the nation is the people that are driving the affairs of the country. That's the thing.
Okay, so looking at the people driving this nation, I have a series of questions to come following that statement. But
okay.
I'll be calling for a break right now, and we'll be back to take the questions about people who are driving the nation. Stay with us. Welcome back. I have been in conversation with Mr. Agwu Elesie Agwu, and we've been discussing the Nigerian scenario, and it's nice to have you remain with me on this conversation, and I would need your understanding on this.
Thank you.
Nigeria is a country that is blessed with so many resources. Let's put the human beings aside first.
Yes.
How is it that we are in a situation that we cannot adequately manage these resources ourselves?
Yeah, I can't answer this question without relating it to the people who are at the helms of affairs of this country. It is very difficult to divorce the leadership from what is happening now. In fact, what is happening now, like you said, the country is so blessed. If you consider countries like Netherlands, if you look at Netherlands now and juxtapose it with Nigeria, you will see that, if we look at our size, if we look at even our manpower, you see, it's just leadership that is our problem. It's leadership.
They say the leaders come from us.
Yes, it came from us, but the truth about it is that the recruitment process of our leadership is where all these things are coming from. Merit is relegated to the background. It's just a question of your ability to do whatever you want to do, your ability to rub shoulders everybody that is around you, like what happened in the last election. People were making their predictions. People were expecting what they were expecting. But when the chiefs were down, You made your rules. You say this is the process. This election will follow. When the election started, you started bending the rules. The electronic transmission of results was diluted halfway. It was diluted. And you see, they went to court. They tell you to go to court. You go to court. In fact, you will be in court and you will tire yourself out. And you will discover that you will beg to leave. You will beg to withdraw. Because the thing is that everybody that went to court came back disappointed. So that's the thing. With that kind of recruitment process, where the winner, even in the primaries that led in the primaries of the political parties, that is where the problem even started, that led to the election. You will discover that not the best hands were recruited. When we start recruiting the best hands, when we start considering everything on merit, when we start putting our best foot forward, that is when you will see that the country will start, taking shape. But for now, people who got in there through the back door, let me use the word back door, people who ordinarily should not have, won the election, and you see them winning. What do you expect them to do? They will come because there was no original ideas in them. They will start doing what they have in their mind is, rigging, manipulation. They are not serious. So nothing good will come out of such an exercise.
Is it time Nigeria begins to perhaps look into the credentials of people who are allowed to be on the ballot, particularly qualifications now? I mean, how did we get to a point to be a minister you have to pass so much hurdles, or to head an agency, for instance, and then to aspire to the number 4 seat? It's just a basic WAEC certificate.
Yes. That's the rolling.
Including the number 1 set.
Yes. That's the thing. It is important for us as a people to look back and devise a means of pruning down, removing people who are not capable of holding responsibility. There's a proverb in my place. That proverb, I don't know how to put it, but it's a local proverb. They say somebody who is hungry cannot administer, let me use the word shrine. In a shrine, they will give you sacrifices. But if a hungry man, you give him sacrifice, instead of dedicating it to the gods, he will eat it. That's what is happening in this country now. There are people who are not qualified, who cannot, carry themselves. Leadership is about has semblance of nobility. You must be noble. A noble person will look at things and will ignore his immediate desires and focus on the objectives. That is not happening in Nigeria today. Look at the kind of money they are wasting. Look at everything. You start anything that is very, very good in this country. In the end, you start wondering, is it this thing we talked about? Like I mentioned about Dangote refinery. If you see how everybody expected Dangote to be our savior, look at inception of his coming, all the things they told us that the crude to Dangote will be denominated in naira. Where are we? They added almost 200 naira per liter. More than 200 naira. And you can't even go to the filling station and get any fuel. You have to queue. So that's the thing with this country. That's the problem. We have a way of making the followers to suffer everything. You see people who are crooks. You see people who are practical crooks, and they will just go there. You shout. You end up in court. Before you can say Jack Robinson, they are acquitted. That's the problem with the country. So, back to your question, what do we do about our recruitment process? The recruitment process will have to start from us as individuals. When we as individuals start being proactive, reject every sectional cleavage, reject every mundane consideration. Know that when they call for election, this election, it will be your future. It's your destiny. It's what will determine who you will be, who your children will be, who your children's children will be. So we must take it serious. We don't in this country. We just say, okay, they're having election. Some people will not even go. They are doing their election. But that day they are doing their election, that is what determines who and who will be at the National Assembly, who and who will be the president of this country, who and who will be our ministers. You can now see what we are suffering today. He'll tell you, go now, go and waste your time. A whole Senate president said something like that. Go, we'll be enjoying ourselves. You go and you do your protest. Look at us now. So that is the issue. We must start as a people to make that sacrifice. It is that sacrifice that will fetch us responsible leaders. And once responsible leaders are at the helms of affairs, you can now talk and people will listen to you. You can see that people who are responsible cannot face what is happening now. Where are you getting the money? You don't have the money. And you can see, this will carry a lot of money and waste a lot of money in the election. And once they come into office, their first objective will be to recoup what they spent. That's the issue. So we as a people must identify those people who are not serious, who will bring the kind of problem we are having today, and fight. Because you can't just, it will not be a stroll in the park. You can't just walk into it and get it. Mm-hmm. You must be ready to make sacrifice. Look at what happened in Tunisia. You know Tunisia. It happened in Egypt also. Mm-hmm. You see, somebody was ready to pour fuel on himself and burn himself to make a point. Nigeria cannot do that. And that is why we are facing this kind of situation.
Love life.
Yes. Nobody is ready to make a sacrifice. Nobody is ready to put his or her feet down to say, no, it can't be this way. It can't be this way. We must be ready to do that. We must be ready to question, to interrogate anything that is coming up. And we must follow all developments. We must be ready to march to National Assembly when they are holding their meetings, when they are holding all these town hall meetings, all these issue bordering on what is happening. You know, Nigerians are not doing that. You leave them to do their politics. And those them, quote and unquote, they are the people that will make all the policies that will govern the country. You see where you can trace the problem. So for me, I will say that it must start from us as citizens. Citizen responsibility. We must be responsible. And you know, when you are responsible, when you show responsibility, it's like an infectious disease. You will see it will start passing to others. Others will look at you and say, yeah, this man has done this. We'll follow him and do this. And you see, it will have a multiplier effect. But if everything is done in silos, you see people reclining and you'll be there and nothing will be transmitted to any other person. Everybody will just be doing his own. And our leaders will be doing what they want to do. They'll wake up and tell you, we are going to back to our anthem in 1914, that before you know it, they will take all their members in the National Assembly and they will pass it. So no progress. No progress. So So we must try as much as possible to be responsive, to be proactive, to know what is happening around us, to take steps when we need to, and to insist on what is good. If you insist, just like those people are, okay, you look at what happened in Bangladesh. What did the Prime Minister do? He ran away. She ran away. She ran away. That is citizen responsibility. They were ready. They were shooting at them. But they insisted. And the woman took a walk and left. They now chose the man that is now the Prime Minister. You can see. Even the military came. They said, no, we don't want you people. We don't want you people. We want our own man. Is there no calm now in Bangladesh? Yes, calm. So that is what I'm saying. Citizen responsibility. We must be proactive. We must take some steps. We all know what is good. Just like now, you look at time. You know it's day. Nobody can come and tell you that it is night. The onus is on you to say, no, this is not night, or this is day. That is what is happening with us. We are not taking responsibility. We are not taking steps. We are not being proactive. When we do that, all this talk about we are going to start mechanized farming, we are going to do this, we are going to do this, you will see it will not make any impression, because when something starts rotting from the head, the body will die. That's the thing. We are approaching everything wrongly. It must cascade to all the citizens. The citizens must take responsibility, must take steps. You see, the future of the youth of this country is very bleak. You don't have any future. You will stay 30 years, 40 years, nothing. Nothing. You see young men growing, nothing. So we must start being proactive. For us elders now, we must keep talking like this, so that people will be challenged to take steps. That is what will change this country.
Yeah, we've seen people talk and ask questions, and the next thing they are arrested.
Yes, even in that arrest. Although in the history of the contemporary world, nobody achieves any feat, political feat, just like that. Like I said earlier, it is not a stroll in the park. You must be ready to face challenges. You must be ready to take the bullets, if so, quote and unquote, take the bullets. But, once you do, and the authority know that this is the kind of citizenry we have, you see them sitting up. You see them taking steps. And you see them thinking twice before they take any step, before they do anything. This one, look at fuel. They just slammed an increase. Where has it happened before? When they were importing the fuel, they were telling us if to say we are producing it in Nigeria.
Now we're producing.
Look at us now. You see why we should not be keeping silent. You see why we should not ignore what is happening. Because if you allow the thing to keep progressing this way, you just wake up one day and see somebody killing somebody and eating the person. If it has not started happening. So it is for us to be responsible ourselves. To know that it starts with us. That's the thing.
Now, another elephant in the room consuming our resources as a nation, constituency projects.
Yes.
Isn't it time we kill it?
Killing it. The question, let me be rhetoric this time.
Oh, yes.
Who will kill it?
Nigerians kill it.
Nigerians are already in their own way saying that this is not good. Because you can't be a legislator and be controlling money. They will be cornering our votes. That was what Chief Obasanjo said last time. You are a lawmaker. Why are you now making laws to favor you? That is why you have the legislature, you have the executive, you have the judiciary.
So who in this case is supposed to checkmate the legislature?
It's, the last hope of the common man is the judiciary. Just like what happened in the local government. Look at how the judiciary, in their own way, has now given enormous powers to the local governments. They've, finances, that's the power. Mm-hmm. Because you can't say you are a local government chairman and the governor will be giving you pittance, telling you what to do. If you want, he will remove you. If you mess up, you are gone. You'll be turning your back. You'll be looking at the back, for you before you take any step. But now, statutorily, they are entitled to some money. Now, you will see, when they start implementing this, you will not see projects. Because in 1976, when there was a reform in the local government, they do a lot of projects. In my time, in this our time, they do a lot of projects. But with the way they captured the local government system, I mean the executive, the governors, nothing was coming again. There was no development. Even this insecurity, I can tell you, if the local government chairmen are fully empowered to look at security, the insecurity will be cut down more than half. That's the problem. That's the problem. What the local government became, it became ungoverned spaces in Nigeria. Nobody is there. If you go to the north here, you see you can travel 10, 20, 30 kilometers. You won't see anybody. No semblance of authority. So as they are empowering them, you will see a return. You will see people now questioning you at the local level, because that is where you see people in the villages. They will not be seeing day-to-day administration of their affairs. But where the local governments are not empowered, where the local government cannot do anything, you see, so every day, everything that we want to do, you start looking up to the governor who is in the state headquarters, capital. It will not work. It will not work. So I would, when administration trickles down to the lowest level, which is the local government, and life comes back to the local government, you start seeing things change. You see, all these things will start changing. And you see the country come back to life. You see, everybody looks up to Abuja. That is why during the riot, you see everybody crowding Abuja. Abuja. But you see, it can come from the base. If things are happening at the base, which is the local government, from the local government to the states, so it will touch everybody.
We're touching everybody. I would still stay with you on this initial question I asked, and that is because we've seen budgets of embarrassing breakdown, I'll put it that way, of budgets, particularly the space agency, where instead of doing the technical things they have been set up to, they have now been reduced to doing all manner of constituency projects, trainings, mosquito nets, street lights. You will know these are constituency projects.
Yes.
Nothing about how to improve the technology.
Yes.
NIGCOMSAT budget is having the same look. A lot of these agencies, instead of providing the service that they are created for,
yes,
more agencies are coming, being put in place by the same legislators. And what do you have at the end of it? They are there to give out money for the legislators to do constituency projects. Who is checkmating this project? And the projects will come carrying the name of the politician, donated by. That's if they eventually come.
Do anything. That was the essence of that Onosanya report. To make Onosanya report, to make administration more compact and responsible. But you can see the government of the day, after the initial mention of the Onosanya report, nothing has been done about it. The essence, the Onosanya report was aimed at seeing people being responsible, cutting down this multiplication of offices here and there. Where you are doing A, you see another person doing the same thing, you see another person doing the same thing under another name. That was the essence of the Onosanya report. And any government that wants to be responsible should take another look at that Onosanya report. From there, you will see some of these ministries, some of these departments, some of these agencies, you see them going out. And you see a more compact, more responsible, and more impactful. The impact is the most important thing. More impactful government. You see citizens who are responsible, who take up roles and do what they are asked to do. I think that is where the thing is. We must cut down. We must cut down on this bloated bureaucracy, on these agencies everywhere. You keep creating, you just go, all these things are done under sentiments. You just come, you say, no, I was listening to one senator from Delta State just yesterday. Yesterday was Sunday. He was saying that they need an Yoma state. Look at another state. When all the states that are here are dying already, are dead already.
You can't even pay.
You can't pay anything. Wage. You can't pay anything. You are talking about another state. So you see, their consideration for some of this bloated bureaucracy is not merit, it's not production, it's not to do something that will progress the country. It's just to satisfy their personal aggrandizement. Like that senator that was saying that yesterday. He was just saying it just to take the glory. I was responsible for the creation of an Yoma state. That was what he called it. So that's the problem. Let us start thinking meritoriously. Let us start thinking how to move this country forward. We can't move this country forward by sentiments. You can't use sentiments. It has cascaded to tribal sentiments. We are not being responsible. Let us watch other countries, even countries who are smaller than us. You see how everybody is thinking about the country. Where is the place of the country and what we are doing now? You can't say you are moving this country forward when in a country where none of the states can foot the bill of people who are there. Look at the states now. Nobody can. The civil service in all the states except maybe Lagos or maybe River State, some of these rich states. Other states can't pay even this new minimum wage we are talking about. They can't even pay it. I still see people agitating for more states, agitating for more bureaucracy. If I'm now, like me now, I will just come out and say, after all, we deserve another board for this and that. That's the problem. We are not helping ourselves. We are not taking responsibility in any way. And until we start taking responsibilities, we will not make progress.
Okay, take responsibilities. And in your earlier submission, you had the concern on when one is trying to take responsibility, you are told to go to court.
I go to court.
So we're going to come back to that issue, but that will be after this break. Thank you for staying tuned and welcome back from that break. Mr. Agwu, when you complain, you're told to go to court. And then you go to court. And the court is being described as the hope for the common man. But it would seem like this is sort of collusion between the three arms and the governed is being left outside the door. Is that so?
Yes, like I said earlier, you see, what you said is correct. The court is the last hope of the common man. That's the ideal situation. But because of our earlier discussion, the attitude of public office holders, the attitudes of politically exposed persons, the attitude, the disposition of people who are in authority. You see, they are now doing everything to put the responsibility of the judiciary in the reverse. They do whatever they can do to frustrate the legal process. It will be too demeaning or cheap for me to say they influence what the judiciary does. As a lawyer and as a person who is exposed to the judiciary, that is not right to say. Let me just put it at that. But our political office holders do everything. They engage in every move that will frustrate the noble objectives of the judiciary. Because it is the judiciary that has been empowered by law. Because if you follow the rule of law in any situation, it is only what the law says, that is what you will do. That's the ideal. But they do everything to shift the focus from this ideal. They do everything to distort the essence of what the judiciary is meant to do. For example now, what I mentioned about the local government chairman, it was the activism of the judiciary that changed the scenario. So once the judiciary takes steps, once they take steps in anything they are doing, you will see everybody will sit up. The other day they were enjoining the new CJN on what she should be doing. You know, everybody is concerned about what the judiciary will do in any situation. Because when all these things, after the elections, after all the politics and everything, the judiciary must step in to tackle all the things that will flow from there. For example, what happened in Kaduna State? Presently in Kaduna State now, a whole level of elected officers were disqualified because of politics.
Plateau State.
Plateau State. Yeah, Plateau State. They were disqualified. Meanwhile, you discover that at a level of the judicial adjudication, they were disqualified. But people, the governor of that state, the governor Katung or what,
yeah,
who went to the Supreme Court, got judgment. The facts of the matter, everything were the same. So you see why the role of the judiciary is very, very sensitive, is very, very, very important, because they are given the powers to stabilize the polity. It is when they give the right judgments, when they insist on doing the right thing, when they insist on giving the right judgment, you see, nobody, when you remember that the buck stops on their table, you caution yourself. If they can sit up, if they can be more stable in their pronouncements, you see, in those days, when you have Justice Oputa, Justice Irikefe, Justice Kayadesho, those were the laws that changed things in this country. They were the people who enunciated what they called my neighbor's principle. They did everything right. And the country was better for it in those days. And it was during the military. But look at us, in a civilian government, people allow everything to just go haywire.
But so, it's a worry again that the crop of the judiciary we're having now are mostly family members of politicians.
And that's the thing. Sentiments. And you know, people who push for things to be done, push for appointments to be made, not because the people are qualified to be given such appointment, just because of the people who are like the CJN. You will see him, his daughter will be a judge. Not that it is bad, though. After all, the daughter is eminently qualified to be there. But why must it be the daughter of the CJN?
The outgone CJN.
Yeah, outgone CJN, yes. Why must be people who are up there getting their wives, their siblings, and everything appointed into sensitive judicial appointments, getting juicy judicial appointments? You see, that is where the problem again is. Because somebody who gains his appointment or who gains his elevation to the bench through that means will not be serious. You don't expect the person to be very, very objective in his rulings or judgments. So that's the thing, you know. So we have to, like they admonished this incoming CJN to overlook those things, to throw such irresponsible behaviors away, to be focused on doing the right thing. And the CJN has given her word that she was going to do that. Let us just pray that he will just do that. Let us just pray that things will start from now changing. If it changes, you see the country will be better off. And you see that all these are worries. You know, when you are having anxieties in your mind, or when you are worried about a situation, and you discover you have hope that at a point the thing will change, that will give you some, good, you'll be okay, you'll be stable. But when it was just whatever happens will go, most of these people who are governors, most of these people who are senators, if you know what they did to be there, you will know that we were in trouble. But we just pray that this present CJ will live up to her words.
I must sincerely thank you, Mr. Agwu, for your time and for sharing your insights on this conversation.
Thank you very much.
And this is the much we can take this week on Top Talk. Until we come your way again, same time next week, be safe out there. And I'll say, God bless Nigeria.